Hi, my name is Ali, and this is my testimony. Growing up, um, I lived in a family that moved around a lot, and we traveled every couple of years, different places, new schools. So I know very much what it's like to be the new girl. I know what it's like feeling like I didn't fit in, I didn't blend in, I didn't easily know how to make friends. I was really challenged with how to interact with other kids other than my siblings. And I was always really felt like an outcast. And yeah, it was pretty hard. But that's like when it's all you've ever known, that's all you know. And so it just became normal after a while, and I just came to expect that that is what it's what our lives were like. So I mean, everyone has challenges growing up, and that was just one of the things that stood out for me in my ability to make friends and find an identity of my own growing up. And yeah, so like trying to fit in and that sort of thing. It's not so bad when you're in primary school, and little kids, you can pretty much like just become friends with someone every day, and things change all the time. But when you start going through adolescence and your body is changing and your mind's changing, and all these different things are going on, your interests change. Kids are different with each other, and they can be mean when you're a little bit different, and it can really impact people's self-esteem. So I did get bullied a lot, and I didn't think very much of myself, and that was something that impacted my decisions that I made in my life, and the way I saw myself, and the way I interacted with other people, and the way I treated other people as well. I began developing a bit of like a revenge complex internally that I didn't really let out. I didn't let people know about it so much. Like, it was just when something bad happened, I was just like, I'll just add that to the list of things that I'm gonna get back at people one day. And it wasn't so much that I wanted to like physically hurt people or anything like that. It was more about like wanting to prove people wrong. So like the bullies and people that was just say, rude and nasty things to me. And I was like, well, I'll prove you wrong one day. I remember this one time I got shoved into like, it's like typical movie where the kids like push kids around in the hallways, and I got pushed up against like just knocked over to the side of the lockers were, and it's like this, like I was just in this person's way, and they're like, why don't you just kill yourself, like nobody likes you. And I just remember freezing, and I'm like, I'm gonna make you regret you said that one day, like I'll show you, like this little 13-year-old, 14-year-old going, I'll show you one day. And so yeah, that's sort of like stuck in the back of my mind as just a bit of like an attitude that I had towards when things didn't work out. It was just like it was what fueled me to be successful in the area that I ended up going down. Fast forward to the last high school I went to, and in that school, I was really into acting at that stage, so I was really invested in performing arts, and I found I found some sort of solace and freedom of expression in being able to express myself freely. Exactly that. Like have a character and then be able to pour my thoughts and my feelings and emotions regarding certain things into something that was seemed acceptable. Because if I did it as myself, it wasn't okay. So it was kind of a way for me to process pent up frustrations and different kinds of, like feelings of rejection, a lot of rejection, um, and just trying to find a voice for myself when I didn't actually know who I was. So I found it easier to create or like morph myself into a character that was able to express that. Um, I got really good marks when it came to performing arts, acting, and doing drama at school. I was involved in almost everything that I could be regarding that, and I had encouragements to apply for NIDA, and I had teachers that wanted to write recommendations for me to be accepted for a scholarship program at the National Institute of Dramatic Art in Sydney, which was nowhere near where I was living at that time. And I chose not to do that because I wasn't ready to move away. I didn't have the life skills at that point in time or the confidence in my ability to be okay in the world as soon as leaving school. So I chose to do a local course on Bachelor of Performing Arts in that region that I lived in. So that's what I did when I left school. I went straight into uni, and I did 2 years of a bachelor's degree. In that year, I was really feeling like, I'm not really getting what I feel like I'm not getting challenged enough in this course. I was finding out things about the course that I was involved with that didn't sit right with me. I found out about some lies that I'd been fed before even really entering into the course, and when I found out that the course wasn't acknowledged anywhere except for the local region, I was pretty angry. So it would mean that anywhere that I tried to go to either finish my final year, I couldn't do a transfer, I couldn't do an overseas program, exchange program, which I was looking into, and I was not apparently able to get any other job other than being potentially be a drama teacher at a high school in that local region, which was definitely not in my plans. So, I mean, it's for some people that's what they wanted to do, but for me, I really wanted to work in the industry, and that was my purpose for being involved in such a course in the first place. So, to find out that I had to do another year of teaching after that, and that was the only real likelihood of me getting any work from having done this particular course, I was furious. I went, it was like all those emotions and those, again, like that frustration, that anger, I needed to put it somewhere. I needed to direct it at something so that it was not on the inside of me. And I ended up getting quite unwell during that time as well, like over the course of the 6 months leading up to me finding out all this information, all the stress. I started becoming unwell, and that plays into another part of my journey, which I'm not sure if I'll get to that in this part of the video. I think I'm gonna have to do a couple of parts, but I want to do the story the justice that it deserves, because I really believe that we all have a story that can help somebody, and I have shared this story with people before. Not in this way, but I've been led by the Lord to finally do it this way, and I just pray that it does bring shed some light, at least, to what goes in, what can happen to people, and and what someone's journey is like. Maybe you can relate to some of the things that I've said, and that you can have a bit of hope, or even just to maybe even inspire, like you to keep going if you're still going through some of these things yourself, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And that's just a little stay tuned kind of like disclaimer that this is not a story that has a traumatic disaster at the end, which is going to make you depressed. Like, there is a journey that leads to some radical, amazing things that have transformed my life for the better, forever and eternally. So I look forward to sharing that when we get to that part of the story. But for now, I think context is really important, so you understand who that little girl that went through those challenges, and how I dealt and didn't deal with these things. And it's not to put blame on anyone. This is just the thing. We all have different story. We all have different ways that we interpret what happened to us and deal with it and work through that. And I'm currently 35, and I'm working through understanding and coming to a place of acceptance of who I am, and learning to love myself. So if you haven't reached that place in your life yet, it's okay. It's a journey. And this has been mine. So where were we? I was at university and started getting sick. Found out what I did. I let them know how I felt, and I did that through an email, because the swirling storm of what could have been done in person was not going to go down well. And I knew that. And I knew I needed to just stay away. So I took my time to articulate it thoughtfully and not in haste. And I wrote to the head of department, and I explained my disappointment and what I had found out, and how I felt betrayed and deceived. Because there was a lot of that. There was a lot of dishonesty involved in many areas, and I had, over 2 years, brought up a lot of things with the department that just weren't adding up to me, and they were pretty sick of hearing me. So that they weren't they weren't sad that I left, but it had brought a lot of things to the surface that needed to be dealt with. And I guess that I don't use the word vendetta, but I think it kind of was like that. So I had this inside me, and I was like, you know what? I need to get out of this place. I gotta blow this joint. So I moved to the city. So the place that I was living, I'm not gonna say where it was, but yeah, it was pretty rural. And so I decided to move to the city, and I didn't really know anyone. I think I knew like one person from high school that had moved down there. And so I was in the city, and I don't mind saying where I was. I was in Brisbane, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a new life for myself. I'm gonna make a name for myself. I'm gonna prove them all wrong. I'm gonna make them wish they never crossed me. Yeah, I was like psyching myself up. I was like, this is gonna be so different now. Like, I'm in the big smoke. I'm gonna make all new friends. I'm gonna reinvent myself. I'm gonna just, like, I was just determined to make it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get covered in tattoos. I am gonna I'm gonna go to the clubs. I'm gonna go to the alternative clubs. I'm gonna see the bands. I'm gonna mingle. I'm gonna meet people. I'm gonna make friends that are like me. I wanted to meet people that I could relate to. I wanted to, find my people. And, like, I was into hardcore music. I liked metal music, like metalcore, all subgenres. I was really into it. I loved going to live music. Like, I'd be like, to get the go to a gig, and the people sitting around going like, waiting for someone to get up there to go up the front. I'd be the one that would get up there and be like dancing and like trying to psych everyone up to like, let's have a good time. Like, we didn't just come here to stand around going like, who's gonna be the one to go up there? So that was me. And yeah, I was like, that was what we did to just feel like, get our anger out. We'd be looking like we were fighting each other while we're dancing and screaming, and it was just like, that was the release. Like, this is what I was like, these guys get it, like, we've all gone through this similar, like, not the same thing, but there was a common theme, and it was that was just it for me. Like, I was like, this is my scene. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get in. I wanted to get into modeling. So I'd already, like, seen tattoo magazines and like seen the girls on the cover, like the pin-up girls, and they're covered in tattoos, and they just look so cool. And like, all like guys were like, oh, she's so hot, and I'd never had that. But I wanted that. I wanted to be the girl that guys were like, look, did you see her? Like, I was like, I'm gonna be on a cover of a magazine one day. I was like, that's going on the goal list. It happened. Talk about, like, manifesting your reality. There's a spiritual truth to some of that, for sure. The things that fueled me, things like revenge, things like escapism, and wanting to be validated, just wanting to fill that void, wanting to find an identity, find a voice, and wanted to be loved and liked and accepted. These were the things that were driving me to that path that I ended up embarking on. I would say that it probably was about three 3.5 years of me putting in a lot of hard yards of trying. I was a professional try-hard. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not ashamed to say that. I was. I tried so hard. I tried so hard to morph myself into something that I liked and that I thought other people would like. I was like, okay, I gotta come up with a character that I can be that is gonna be like the most glamorous and desirable and, you know, all that. You know, I wanted to be an idol. I desired to be worshipped. I desired to have people look at me and go, oh, wow, look at her. Let's get a picture with her. That's da-da-da, you know? Oh, like, let's go talk to her. Like going to a cafe and being recognized and having people let go. And I'd be like, but that's what it was like. This is the story. It's not all glamorous. So yeah, over a period of years, I built up a portfolio. I did a lot of free photo shoots with all kinds of shady characters that just, you know, wanted to get girls into their garage studios to take photos of them to build their portfolios up. It was just the kinds of people that I was hanging out with and meeting. I had no idea what I was involved with to start off with. I was so naive. I was so oblivious to the darkness that was pulling me in. Like, 1 minute I'll be doing a photo shoot like 1950s sailor pinup girl. The next minute I'm in some creep's industrial estate basement and he's tying me to chairs and putting ball gags in my mouth and taking photos of me crying. Just because that's what he does. And just because he needed a model to do it. And I wanted to do whatever it took. So these doors were being opened. There's photo shoots that I've done I don't even remember. I can't even say how many photo shoots I've done. But I did a lot of photo shoots that I thought there was nothing wrong with it. I saw it as art. You know, like you see, if you go study art, they more than likely at some point will do life drawing and they'll have a nude model come in. And they will draw or paint that model and it's art. So in my mind I justified the strange things that people wanted in photo shoots as it's just art. You know, everyone's different. It's an expression of something. I had no immediate correlation to the wickedness and the debaseness and the perverseness and the evil that I was representing and basically coming into agreement with. And these are things that people don't realize. That's what this is. It's a devil's playground. It's a slippery slope. And sometimes you don't even realize you're on it. And for me, that was the case. I'd been in relationships too through these years, and again, there was a lot of stuff going on there that I didn't understand. I just come to realize that, like, people are strange. The things that they do and they enjoy, and they do, like, you know, like meeting people that collect, you know, like their whole life is about horror stuff, and so you go to their house and they have like wardrobes filled with weird costumes and masks, and like everything is like themed dead. You know, death is like the theme of someone's like life. Like, nothing surprised me. I was just like, I thought I'd seen it all. I was trying to find my identity, and I was getting further and further away from finding that through the path that I had chosen. Time I did a photo shoot, each time, or you know, like, it wasn't just photo shoots, like I did theater, because acting was more my passion. And so when I discovered burlesque was, it was like, when I found out about it, when I learned about it, I was just like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. You know, I had the freedom to come up with the character, the theme, the costume, the music, the choreography, the whole thing I could have creative control over. And I was just like, my mind was just like, had all these like wild ideas of the things that I wanted to do and bring them to life on the stage. And I'm talking like sus, dingy little clubs to start off with. And there's people that I was friends with that are just like genuinely really cool, nice people. But they're lost. And I think that the one thing that I can say that I had in common with most people that I worked with, was friends with, rubbed shoulders with, was that we enjoyed escaping reality. We all had a reason for why we were involved in that world. And it was a different world. It was where you could bring your fantasies to life. And it was like a circus. It really was. And I saw myself as like the freak show, you know, this sparkly, tattooed glamazon, and my edge was this spookiness because I was involved in witchcraft as well. And that sort of started happening without me really understanding. Again, it just crept in. It was like, oh, but it's just this. It's just this. And then all of a sudden it's like becoming a part of more of your normal life. And people start noticing, oh, that's this person, and this is what it becomes, your identity. Because people associate you with what you're involved with and what your focus is and what you represent. And so I had spent all these years building up a character portfolio and our own identity that has basically just been overrun with just like perversion, lust, idolatry, selfishness, revenge, bitterness, anger, manipulation, witchcraft. I noticed my compassion towards people and my ability to truly love and connect with people was like diminishing. I felt there were times where I felt like I didn't even have a heart anymore. And I felt jaded and blunted. And it caused me to become fixated and obsessed with trying to understand what it was all about. I really started getting involved and had these things come to me, jobs offered to me, and I was starting to see a pattern, and I was like, this isn't normal. You know, like when people offer to pay you like thousands of dollars for really strange things, and you're kind of like, is this what I have worked so hard on to get to? Like, what is next? I have a choice. And I started to sit and go, I need to reevaluate some of these choices that I'm making, because it's going down this path that I didn't like who I had become. And I'd become very suspicious of people. I'd become extremely paranoid. I'd become depressed and just lost. Yeah, I was getting, you know, like I was getting more people coming to my shows. I was getting more write-ups in magazines. I was getting offers to do show, like all kinds of different things, like opportunities. Was it, you know, like being face of Grease Fest and you know, just various like events that wanted me to go there and you know, be on posters and that sort of thing. Being in music videos, and then when I, you know, like I started reflecting, I'm like, all of this stuff has a theme, and it was demonic. It was very demonic. And I was supposed to go for it. I was supposed to go for the enemy. And I wanted to break away from that side of things. I wanted to do more editorial fashion. I wanted to do more high fashion. I wanted to do more beauty work. I wanted to focus on fashion and sort of break the mold from the traditional way that tattooed models were viewed. And for a really long time, you know, if you had tattoos and colored hair and piercings, you were doing car magazines, men's magazines, tattoo magazines, and you know, events or you know, like there wasn't as many opportunities, or it wasn't as, what's the word, accepted for runway, or, you know, like doing a campaign for, say, for example, you know, like a name brand. And so I started applying to do hair modeling, and I did that for quite a few years and tried to kind of pull a bit more away from the dark stuff that I had done in the past, that sort of material wise, because I wasn't really wanting that I just kind of ended up in over my head before I realized what was happening. So I did that, and it was difficult because people didn't take tattooed models seriously in the industry, and I found it really difficult to even get an agent to take me seriously, because it was just that image was just associated with certain things. But now obviously it's very different, and it hasn't always been like that. And yeah, so that was something that I experienced too, and was one of the, you know, more, I guess, like things that I can look back on and go, you know, like I was, you know, like I did push for that discrimination to be, you know, seen for what it really was. But yeah, so that was that, and then I sort of started spiraling into existential identity crisis. I was also had codependency issues, and I got really, when I was in a relationship, you know, like I was not able to cope very well if things weren't working out. And so I'd sort of put all my self-worth into people that I was with, and that had a lot of negative impacts on other people as well. So not only was I influencing people with what I did with my work, but they all had consequences, and there were things that happened in my relationships with, you know, have boyfriends and that, and issues with how they felt about what I was doing and what I was involved with. And here I am thinking that I'm the, you know, the dream goddess girlfriend that all they could ever want. And really, I never really gave it that much consideration that they might be being hurt by the things that I was involved with, and not wanting me to do that, you know. And I thought I was thinking of it one way and not able to see things from other people's perspectives, and that was one of my big challenges, going through all of that. So yeah, I was involved with that, and I used to smoke as well. I smoked cigarettes for quite a few years, heavily, and I ended up doing other drugs as well, for quite a few years, and that's a common thing, especially when you work in the entertainment industry, and you're trying to process all of these things, and all of a sudden you're just known by your image. And I was still struggling with having this identity crisis, and just not knowing who I was, and seeing this, you know, the result of all of my years and efforts of trying to create a version of myself that I would finally like, and be proud of, and have people enjoy, you know, like just to love me as well. and just have it turn into something that was completely not what I had ever anticipated or expected it for it to be. So yeah, so I was in the entertainment industry freelancing, so that just basically means that I didn't have an agent getting all my work. I did all that myself. And how many years? I would say all up, it was probably 6 or 7 years of that. So it was like 3.5 to 4 years of me like building a portfolio and all of that sort of thing. And then once I started to actually be recognized and start gaining jobs and doing headlining tours and like, well, as far as tours go, like I would be a headliner for a show or be booked for various things. Yeah, I did that for a few years too. So yeah, it was probably about 7 years all up before I made the decision to start again. I got to the point I was doing like quite a lot of things, and I could not sit and put my makeup on without crying. I could not get myself into character because I hated the character so much. And that is what people wanted, and that was who people wanted, and I wanted to kill her. I did, but that wasn't right then, because I didn't understand that it was to me at that point in my life, it was too mingled in who I was. I had to confront and face the fact that I had to somehow start again at, like being in my late 20s, mid to late 20s, going, am I willing to bury all of this and find out who I truly am? Or am I just going to how long can I keep doing this? Because I was just so depressed. I was so lost. I couldn't find hope. I couldn't find a way out. And there were other jobs that I did too, which involved the Illuminati. And I got brought in different kinds of jobs with different families because they wanted to use me. And it was acknowledged that there was something about me, that there was this power there. And that's a whole other side to this, is because like I thought I was psychic, like I had all these abilities to do things and make things happen. And then I just didn't want that. I didn't understand why I had it, and I didn't want it because it was wrong to me. It's like, how can I have this power? How can I have this ability to control or make things happen? Like make people do what I want them to do. Like I was just like, I shouldn't be able to do that. I don't want to do that. I didn't know how to turn it off. I didn't know why it was there. But that is, there came a point where I was just like, you know what? I'm done. And I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I just didn't have it in me to keep going the way I was. So I moved back to what I can call like hometown. I moved away from the city, and I had my cooling down period. I had a lot of reflecting to do, and I had a lot of thinking to do. I had a lot of work to do, and I was searching for the truth. I was searching for a reason that made this all make sense. I was searching for something that could explain why the world was so dark and the kinds of things that I was involved with and why that existed and why that was celebrated and why that was, you know, in the influence of media and entertainment, and you know, why there was like such a hunger for it, you know, like there was such a market for it. And I was like, if this can't be it, it can't be, you know, like how can the world just be so dark and twisted, and there's not a reason? Like there has to be something else. There has to be something that it makes it make sense to me. So all this time, you know, like I had forgotten so many things that I learned as a child. I actually had gone to like youth groups, gone to churches growing up as a kid. Even though we moved a lot, like we still went to churches. And eventually the Lord reminded me, you know, like, remember that time, you know, at Young Life, it was called. And I actually gave my life to Jesus when I was about 14. So I was a prodigal that went out into the world and did things my way, and came back to the Lord. But I didn't realize that I was, because I had, that part of my life had just been wiped from my memory when I was amongst all these things. I was so easily distracted. I was so, ooh, sparkly, shiny, you know. Yeah, I want that. I want to be in that. Oh, I want to do with that. I want that, you know. It's all about me. And yeah, so he did eventually, when I was able to come to a place where I was like acknowledging like that God was real, and he had been trying, you know, been protecting me and loving me and helping me survive through some wild things. He made a way. So I ended up having a lot of issues with my mental health. I you know, huge like identity crisis, you know, like just totally desperate to find out like who I was and what the point was of me being alive, and you know, like just having it all make sense. I had, there was an incident that led me into to have a psychotic episode, and I was hospitalized, and I have had quite a few times where I've had psychosis, and it's pretty terrifying not knowing what's real and what's not real. And it's always been very demonic. What I've experienced, there's nothing holy about psychosis. God is there with you in it, but when you are experiencing it, it's like a bad trip that won't stop. And that's probably the best way to describe psychosis. I needed help, and I was hospitalized on and off for quite some time. So over a period of years, for various challenges. with my mental health. But a lot of it was spiritual sickness that had not been addressed yet. And they do not acknowledge that reality in the institution. And in fields of medicine, if you talk about the spirit world, like, you're gonna get put in a certain category pretty quickly, if you don't have the name of Jesus to stand on, especially that, and at that time I didn't. Eventually I did, and things changed drastically. But when I was going through it, like, I know what it's like to not see what the point of being here is. I know what it's like to feel like you've totally screwed your life up and there is no way out. I know what it's like to be totally excited and extremely enthusiastic and on top of the world one day, and then ready to dig your own grave the next day. I know what it's like to not know if you're in a dream or not. I know what it's like to not be hungry and genuinely just have no interest in eating or drinking or participating in normal daily functions of life. I know what it's like to feel like you don't have feelings anymore. I know what it's like to feel like you have every feeling and it's all extreme and can't be balanced. I know what it's like to have your mind so busy that you can sit still and stare at a wall and still you lose your mind because it's racing so much. I know what it's like to have people in your life not trust you because that there has been so many things that have gone on that they just don't even know whether you ever tell the truth or not because it just seems all too crazy. I know what it's like to have people give up on you. I know what it's like to have people pretend to be nice to you because they don't know how you're going to react if they really tell you the truth of how they're thinking and feeling. If you've gone through anything like that, I know what it's like. For years. Medicated with all kinds of different things, self-medicated, tried different things. And I think you can know, if you know anything about me now, the one thing, the one who was the antidote to all of those problems. If someone had told me, and they eventually did, but let's just say it happened earlier. In the midst of all that, someone had told me, you can just start again. They could just hit reset, like just totally brand new creation. What do you reckon? I'd be like, sign me up. I'm there. Where do we go? Who do we do this with? That's what Jesus does. That's what Jesus did for me. And the way it happened was, so after all these years, all of that back and forth, like, my family went through hell trying to keep me alive and, just not knowing what to do anymore. And then because I just left the industry, like, there is probably still hundreds of people that would be like, oh yeah, I remember that chick. Whatever happened to her? She just disappeared. So go, hey, that's Ali. She's on fire for Jesus now. They'll be like, what? No way. She's like the last person in the world I would have ever thought would be doing that. It's like, that's this story. So if you know them, if you're friends with them, you know, go, oh my gosh, listen to this. Feel free to share this testimony, because that's what it is. This is a story of like where I was, what I went through, and where I've come to be. Not in my own strength and not on my own merit, but through the power and the love and the grace and mercy of God on me. That little black sheep that ran away. That lost. He left for 99 to come find me in my pit that I'd dug for myself. With the enemy just handed me the shovel. And I just started digging. He's like, hey, you're doing great. Keep going. And I'm like, hello. Yep. Not anymore. Now I actually know what life is about. And I can go, thank you, Jesus. So, there was a time where I guess like my mom's at her wit's end, didn't know what to do anymore. And she organized a meeting with a leader of a local church. And, you know, like I was full into like, I had dresses with pentagrams on it. I had dead moths in my, you know, like in like taxidermy. I had scarves with skulls all over them. I would do really dark makeup. I would, yeah, like I had like all the like the strappy lingerie and, you know, all into all this dark stuff, like how I presented myself and the books that I had, you know, I had like all these things. It was like tarot cards, and I used to do tarot cards for people and used to do readings for people and all that kind of thing. But all that aside, what was interesting about this is like, oh, mom's like, it's a Pentecostal church. I was like, oh yeah, like pentagram. Cool, we'll go see some witches. They'll sort me out. They'll tell me where the shaman is. That was like exactly how my brain worked. So I was like, we're going to the Pentecostal. Yeah, let's go. Cool. And I was like, finally, you know, like something that makes sense to me that's gonna be helpful. And I got the shock of my life when we rock up to this like a Christian church, and it was like everything inside me was like I felt like I was like freezing and then boiling, and then like I had all these worms just like crawling on the inside of me. Like I was like, oh, get me out of here. You know, like I was like, I can't go in there. Then I was like, okay, I'm going in, right. And I was just like, what's happening? They actually had a service on. It was like a Thursday, and they had like the older people. They have a service on Thursday mornings. So that was happening downstairs, and we went upstairs, had this meeting, and I'm like talking a million miles an hour, telling this lady all the things that I'd been going through. I was telling her about like this, talking about things about quantum, like parallel multi-matrix universes, that, you know, it was like all these mystical things that I was involved with, and, you know, what my life used to be like, and like how I worked in the entertainment industry, and, you know, like I had to get away from it, and, you know, like I was like talking really fast and you know, just like a bit manic. And she's talking about Jesus. She's like, you know, Jesus, you know, this is who Jesus is, this is what he does, and this is what he can do for you. And I'm like, no, lady, you don't understand. I said, like, I've been told that I was the prostitute that rides the beast in Revelation. She goes, so who told you that? Because that sounds like something the devil would say. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was just like, but and I just kept going and kept like, there was like all these stories, you know, like I was like, she doesn't get it, like, because she hasn't been through what I've been through. And I had this wave, like a wave of peace came over me. And I can not emphasize enough that I had never experienced peace before in my entire life. So when you experience peace, it gets your attention. Because I was just like, oh, you know, like, what is this? And now I know it's the peace that surpasses all understanding. It comes from God. This wave of peace came over me. And I'm like, PC's about to talk. Now, I didn't mention this before, but PC, like the letter PC, was the name that I gave to one of the voices. So I had all these voices like coming at me all the time. But there was this one voice which was soft, kind, always got me out of trouble. I called them PC because to me, they were the prime creator. So they were the great spirit. And so I would talk to PC. I would pretty much talk to anything that would talk to me. But when I spoke with PC, I knew I could trust them. And that was the difference. So when I got this sensation, this peace came over me, this calm came over my mind and stopped all the storm that was going on inside me. And the voice said, Ali, who shines brighter than the moon? And I was looking at my ring finger because this tattoo here, that used to be, if I go like that, you can probably see it, like a moon goddess symbol. So like the moon, the one in the middle, the round, and then 2 half moons. It was like a moon goddess symbol. And it's on my ring finger. And I'd made a covenant with Night that I was married to the moon. And this voice said, who shines brighter than the moon? And I said, the sun. And they said, yes. And who's my sun? And I was like, Jesus? And they said, yes. And then it was like I had this fire. Fire came all over my whole body. Inside, everything. It was just like, it was not a painful fire. It was a holy fire. And I came to my knees, and my mom and this lady, who's a very special lady of my life, shout out to Bev, going, what is happening? Like, what did just happen to you? And I was on the ground, and I'm like, oh, tell them what happened. And she was like, do you want to give your life to Jesus? And I was like, yep. I was like, yeah, I really, like, everything's making sense now. And it was like everything that had happened had led me to that moment. And that was like 7 years ago. Just over 7 years ago. 7.5, I think, yeah. In the word it says, if you seek him with all your heart, you'll find him. If you seek for truth, if you want to understand who you really are and why you were created, there's only one that can truly reveal that to you. It's the one that made you. He made you for himself. The enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. And his favorite place to do that is your identity. Because we as humans are made in the image of God. He made us in his likeness. And even though Jesus was born into a world that already had people that existed in it, he has been everlasting from everlasting. So he's always been who he is. But when he came in the flesh, it was prophesied all through the Old Testament. The promise of his coming, the promise of redemption and salvation for humanity. And to find out that that is what I'd been searching for my whole life. That is why the enemy took me, led me by the hand like a curious young child going on this dangerous adventure. I'd accumulated so much sin that it had turned into poison in my body. It poisoned my mind, poisoned my heart, my physical body. I was tormented day and night. But when I found out that Jesus came to set the captives free, to give us an opportunity to start again, he says that we must be born again. It's a requirement to come into the kingdom of God. The old must go, behold, the new must come. And you get born again and you get washed clean. And it's a free gift. A gift of love. God sacrificed his own perfect son, Jesus, and put all of my sin, all of our sins, past, present, and future sins, the sins of tomorrow, have been to the cross. And the devil doesn't want people to know that. He doesn't want people to ever find out. And that's why we live in this world where the truth is something that everyone can choose for themselves and redefine every word under the sun about what that means. And you just got to accept, okay, well, that's their truth. Don't want to offend them, so let them have their truth, I'll have my truth. Well, how's that different from an opinion or a preference? Because last time I checked, that wasn't what truth meant. Truth is a person. And when I discovered that, I was like, this is treasure. This is more precious than gold. Knowing the truth. Because it's the truth that sets you free. So I'm not somebody that just believes God's real and I'm really excited about my belief. I know he's real. He saved my life. He's totally transformed me and still does continuously. It's a process. But what happened on that day where I made that decision, I was all in. I was like, this is it. It doesn't get better than this. This is what everything has led me to this moment. All of the attacks, the mental torment, the decisions that I'd made, the job offers that I had given, the magazine covers that I had, the music videos I had done, the being involved in like things that had happened with people, like the witchcraft, the secrets too, like trying to talk to other people about like the spiritual side of what I was experiencing. Everyone's like, you're not allowed to talk about that. I was like, why not? I know you got demons, you know I got demons. Like, we're just gonna pretend it's not happening? Because I know that you pretend to be like this, or when you're doing your job, or when you allow the demon to take over. And they're like, you can't talk about this stuff. Like, people disconnected from me because I was talking about it, because I was trying to understand it and work through it and like come to a place of understanding of what was truly happening. And I was coming up against all of these dead ends because people were getting like, she's talking and she's asking questions, and you know, she's not keeping the things secret. And you know, like, some of these people had made contracts with the devil. They'd signed them in blood. Like, this is the reality of the entertainment industry, and all you have to do is look at the modern like performers that are the it person of today. Like, people like Doja Cat make the music video. If you just look, you don't even have to listen to it, just read the lyrics of what they're saying and have a look at a couple of the images that go along with what they're saying. You know, it is what it is. It's in plain sight. He's not hiding. The devil has overplayed his hand to the point where he doesn't even try and hide anymore, because people are just willingly going along with what he wants them to do a lot of the time. And they're not really ready to acknowledge the spiritual reality that we live in. And I can promise you, it's real. You don't need to be a prophet to see that. You don't need to have a psychic ability to understand that there is a spiritual reality connected to this physical world that we can see with our eyes. You know, we are spirit. That when I came to the Lord and I received a new identity, I received my true identity for the first time in my life. The thing that I had been trying to create for myself, the thing that I was chasing after, the thing that I was obsessed with, was on the other side of coming to Jesus. You know, like, we all want to know, like, have things make sense. We want to know the truth. I think some people are afraid of what that might mean, and they maybe have concerns about what that might need, things they need to change in their life and address and accept and work through. There's work involved with it, but the wonderful thing about coming to this place is that you don't have to do anything alone. God's not sitting there going, okay, let's see how you go now, yeah? I'm watching. Be good. He wants to he's got his hand holding out, and he's like, come with me. Let's do this together. Let me teach you the way. Let me show you who you are and what you mean to me. And knowing that I am loved and accepted and precious and worth Jesus wanting to lay his life down to have that exchange possible. That God would desire to spend eternity with me, not just this life, but forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, amen. Hanging out with little Ali, asking millions of questions all the time, being excited, and then being like, oh, you know, all the other things that go on with being who you are. He wants to be there with you with all of it. He wants to be there with you holding your hand. He wants to be there with you teaching you story through storytelling and show and tell and follow the leader and hide and seek. He wants to do life with us like a child. And become brand new, purified, wash away. He washed away all the perversion. He washed away all the trauma. He washed away all those those feelings of, you know, just me needing to do it on my own, control, manipulation, all of that. Just wash it away. It was just like, okay, I'm gonna be stripped bare and start again. And that's what he did for me. And that's my story. And there's more of what he's doing now. You know, this is 7.5 years into the journey of being with the Lord. And it's never promised to be easy. He doesn't promise that it won't be painful sometimes. He says that he'll be with us in it all. And he'll help us through it all. And he will teach us how to overcome things and how to step into that identity that he purchased for us with his life. Because once you become a new creation, you are welcoming Jesus to become merged with who you are. So for me, when I found out that I could receive his spirit, not only was my name going to be written in the book of life when I came to the Lord and laid down the old way of me being, and then picked up this brand new life, learning how to do everything again, learning how to see things again, learning how to speak and you know, interact and just understand foundational things about life his way. And there is life there. It's like some people have this preconceived idea that religion and being a God person, a Jesus person, is boring and strict and straight and, you know, like just like stern and, you know, cardboard grey person. Like, hello, God is the creator of the universe. He's the most colourful, creative, fun genius. He invented colours. Like, man created cardboard. But, you know, anyway, God is amazing. Having a intimate personal relationship with the creator of the universe that specifically had a design in mind to mold you as, like me, mold me, and go, you know what a piece of art that Ali will be. You know, like, she'll have to go through certain things because of choices that I made, not him. But he knew that. He still chose to lay his life down for me. No, I've hurt him in so many ways, but he forgave me. I hurt myself in so many ways. I learned to forgive myself. And I forgive other people that hurt me rather than, be spiteful and look for revenge and ways to get back at people. I traded all those negative aspects of what had become part of my character and personality for brand new things that were pretty opposite of what I used to be like, to be honest. I learned about joy. I experienced joy. I learned about, the wonder of faith and what is possible with faith and hope, and having a desire to see people set free from bondage, seeing people that need to know that they're loved and be encouraged, and that I get to be a part of whoever it is that the Lord brings in my life to share who He is with them, to share the story of, do you want to hear about what God did for me and who I used to be and who I am now? And it's because of Him. I don't take credit. I cannot take credit for what has changed and what He has done. I just said yes to Him. He asked me if I, would like to start again and to do things His way instead of my way. And I said yes. And I said a big fat yes. Not a little skinny yes, maybe on the side. No. I was like, It's like jumping in the deep end and not knowing how to swim, but going, it's okay. God's there. That's like, I was desperate too. I was desperate. And I think when you come to the end of yourself and you go through so much pain and trauma, that you realize that you can't do this on your own. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom before you put your hand up and say you need help. And that's what happened to me. My name is Ali. I go by A Rose. And now, who am I? I am a very proud guinea pig and bunny mummy. And I've got a little piglet here who wants to say hello. Come on, baby. This is a Zickle Piggle. He's my little potato. Say hi, baby. He's my good boy. He's 2, and I love to be his mummy. He's hungry. And there's the Zickle Piggle. And then Bun Bun. And Daisy's over here. Come on, Day. You say hi? Well, maybe later. So, I'm Z's mum and Daisy's mum, and I am a creative expressionist. I'm a truth teller and a glory dweller. I'm a child of God. I'm daughter of the Most High King. I am a new creation. I'm a worshiper. I am a sister, a daughter, a friend, cousin, and an auntie now. And I'm accepted. I'm not perfect, but that's okay. And I'm in love with Jesus. He saved my life. I'm very grateful. And so it's been a long time coming for me to share the story. And I pray that it has impacted you in a positive way, given and shed some hope and light on not only what happened to me personally, but what goes on in the world that maybe people don't really know or have seen that way before. And I say God bless you. And if anybody would like to ask any questions about my journey and the story, I'm an open book regarding that. And if anybody would like prayer, if anybody has any questions about how to come to the Lord, I'll just end with this. If you believe in your heart and you confess with your mouth that you believe that Jesus is who he says he is. I'm talking about the Jesus of the Bible, the Holy Word of God, Jesus Christ of Nazareth. If you believe that he's the Son of God and that he rose from the dead, he died on the cross to take on and took on all the sins of humanity, including yours, no matter how bad you think it is, it's he took that upon himself, and you can receive the gift of salvation, eternal life, and a brand new clean slate if you receive him and you say, thank you, Jesus, I believe that you did die on that cross and you rose again and you defeated hell and the grave, and that you are the Son of God. He says that he will come and make his home inside of you, and that your name will be written in the book of life. That's the start of the journey. It's the start of what it means to follow him and to choose him. And it's a daily thing. It's a moment by moment decision to continue the journey and to understand that we're in a spiritual war, that there's a real enemy that hates us. Whether you are a Christian or not, the devil hates humans. He wants to take as many of us out as possible because his fate is sealed, but ours doesn't have to be the same as his. We don't have to end up punished for something that Jesus is willing to forgive and pardon you for. You just receive him as your king. He wants to be your best friend, and he wants to bless you by giving you the same spirit that he had that rose him from the dead, the Holy Spirit, to breathe on you and to come make his home inside of you so that you could have the living God on the inside of you, transforming you daily into the likeness of Christ. It's the most wonderful thing. That it sounds too good to be true, but it's real. And this is why the war is raging on so fiercely for our souls, for our minds, for our will, for our emotions, for what we watch, for what we listen to, for what we say. There's life and death in the tongue. What we agree to, what we, the lyrics that we listen to in songs and what we agree with when we say it, there is a spiritual agreement taking place that can really do some serious damage and keep you in bondage. So we get to learn about these things, and we get to receive the most wonderful partnership and life that is only possible with the one true living God. And that's Jesus, Father, Son, and Spirit. He's our King. He's our beloved. And he's your creator. And this is his invitation. Would you like to get to know him more? Ask, just call out to him. Doesn't matter where you are, day or night. Small, still voice or loud cry out in the wilderness. If you seek him with your heart, with all your heart, you will find him. Amen. God bless you.